Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen within your relationships, your work, and most importantly, with the relationship with yourself. In this podcast, we talk about all things self-love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, and more. Hi, I'm your host, Celia Antonio, and I'm a women's sexuality and self-love coach, a mindfulness expert, and your cheerleader for your most grounded and expansive self-expression. You can connect with me on Instagram at self-expressedbabe, and for all of my guest episodes, there will always be links in the show notes so that you can find them online. I give my deepest thanks to you for being here and spending your precious time with me today. Now let's begin our journey. Hello. Welcome back to Openly Spoken. It's been a really long time since we've had new episodes here. In case you are new, hi, my name is Celia. I am the creator and host of Openly Spoken, and this is the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen within self-love, relationships, and out in everyday life. And we talk about self-love, relationships, sexuality on this podcast, along with many other things like spirituality, and I am really excited to be back. It was honestly very tough to take as long of a break as I did, and I actually had quite a lot of guest episodes already recorded by the time I decided to not post anything when it was October of last year. And I've been in a coaching certification program. It's a sex, love, and relationship coaching certification program. And in October was when we were finally given the green light to start working with practice clients. And it was just overwhelming to do that plus the podcast stuff. So here we are now in April. Feels very rejuvenating and refreshing to have taken that long of a break. So today I want to give you a couple of updates. I want to kind of continue the conversation of where we left off. There was the last guest episode that I published was with Caitlin Rose, and we talked about feminine and masculine energy, and I want to share a few thoughts about that. And I'm also going to give you at the end a little bit of a sneak peek trailer type of thing of what is coming up for the next episodes. And if you are listening on YouTube, I am not recording any type of video for this solo episode at the moment. I'm just recording audio on Adobe Audition. First update is that I do want to lean more into solo episodes this season. And I do have quite a lot of guests already recorded and already edited and scheduled. So it might be very guest heavy at first, and then we will get more solo episodes. I'm at the point now where I've recorded more than 100 podcast episodes. Hi, Paxton. My cat came to join me. Now I wish we were recording video. So I realized the other day that we have already recorded over 100 episodes, and it feels like a big milestone. And so with this milestone of having recorded that many episodes, I was just kind of asking myself, how can I grow? How can I, improve and be better? And I realized that solo episodes have honestly, from day one of podcasting, been a little bit of a growth edge, like a discomfort kind of thing. I mean, I show up for them, but not as often as I would like to. And I do find guest episodes easier. It is a lot easier to have someone there to be bouncing ideas off of and to be having an actual conversation rather than just talking to the abyss by yourself. So that's something I want to lean into more. And then another update for the podcast. I went back, and because I'm now a little bit more specialized with my training in sex, love, and relationship coaching, and because I started this podcast in 2021, in October of 2021, I went back and deleted old episodes. When I originally started this podcast, it really was about showing up, speaking out, and being seen, and which it still is, but I was talking more about showing up as an entrepreneur, as a new entrepreneur, and being able to be in the messy middle and trying things out, and just kind of having this podcast be a space of talking about the things that weren't really shared online. No one shares about, their flopped launches and all that stuff. So that was how the podcast started. And I was sharing, my behind the scenes of building my business. And I also invited in other fellow entrepreneurs. And over time, the podcast just kind of organically morphed into being more about self-love. And now with this training that I have been in since October of 2022, I'm almost done. It's a little bit more, specialized. And I realized that if this was your first time listening to this podcast today and you scrolled all the way back to episode 1, it would not make sense. Like it's for a completely different audience. So I deleted quite a bit of some old episodes. I think I deleted maybe about 30. And then I just lumped everything together into season 1, even though we had already recorded 5 seasons. I think this would have been season 6 or this would have been season 5. I don't remember. So everything has now been lumped into season 1. And this, as of the time of this recording, is now season 2. So welcome to season 2 of Openly Spoken. And my cat is jumping on me and on my desk, so you might hear some background noise. Okay, so before we get into the trailer, I would like to talk about this whole thing about divine feminine, divine masculine, and how people say being in your feminine, being in your masculine. I really, really loved my conversation that I had with Caitlin last year. And that was the last guest episode that's been published. So you should be able to find that really easily. It's just 2 episodes back from this one. And we basically talked about how limiting it is to label certain things as feminine, certain things as masculine. And I've said this even before that conversation, that like feminine and masculine energy has nothing to do with gender. And yet calling it masculine and feminine makes it hard for our brains to not genderize it. It's hard not to. And that's why I think that a lot of people get, when they talk about what is divine feminine energy, they get a little bit distorted, and they then find themselves, and I'm sure it's not on purpose, saying things of like, a woman should be like this, a man should be like that. And first of all, that's like completely leaving anyone that is non-binary or gender expansive, gender non-conforming, completely out of the conversation. And second of all, there are some learnings I want to share about what I believe feminine and masculine actually is. Like, what are we actually talking about when we say that? But first, I just want to share that for me, Googling what is divine feminine energy and getting curious about what divine feminine energy is, that happened in 2021. And it did change my life. I did find a lot of really great practices that I still do today, like breast massage, for example. And I have my own breast massage course. And at the same time, it's not that I was like blindly following everything that I saw and everything that I read, because in these spaces where they talk about polarity and feminine, masculine, energetics, it does have the tendency to be very, very just like putting people in boxes. Like, because you are a woman, you have to be like this. And I don't like that. I don't even like to use a completely different example. I don't even like that there's also some narratives around, if you are spiritual or if you are witchy, then you like these things. Like you must be totally into astrology then. Because I'm not. I'm a very witchy person, but I'm not super into astrology. I know my sun sign, I know my moon sign, I know my rising sign, I know my north node, and that's about it. And I'm not like looking up what my astrology prediction is for the day. I honestly don't believe in it. And I don't judge people who do, just in case. I'm sure there are a couple of people, maybe a lot of people who listen to my content who are into astrology. I'm just saying that for me personally, I see astrology as like a set of beliefs that I'm just choosing to not subscribe to. And I think that's how we should approach anything, whether it's divine feminine, divine masculine, whether you are learning about how to attract the right relationship, how to build your business. Like, you should look at everything as like, this thing that this person is teaching me is just a set of belief systems. Do I believe in all of it? Do I believe in some of it? Do I disagree? I think it's very, very, very important to have some discernment. So, looking up what divine feminine energy is was very helpful for me, but I have a very big learning of why it was helpful for me, because I'm going to share what are we actually saying when we say divine feminine and divine masculine? In my opinion, from my experience with this, like personal experience of having transformation from this, when we're saying be in your feminine, in my opinion, we're just saying be in your body. Because when we talk about how like the world is masculine and the word, when we say it's hard to like not sound polarizing, but in those spaces when they talk about how the world is very masculine and you need to be in your feminine, I think all we're really pointing to is how fast paced the world has gotten, and how that has put a lot of us in this space where we're walking around in our heads, overthinking a lot, and we're like not fully alive and aware in our bodies. And so I think instead of telling people you need to be in your feminine or even calling it that, I think what should be said instead is that you need to drop into your body. And then when it comes to masculine, I think what people are actually alluding to is consciousness, like thoughts. So those are like the two super generalized pieces that make up our experience as a human. Like, we are a body and we have this consciousness that is creating a reality for us. The body is also creating a reality for us. And the world is so fast that most of us are not fully in our bodies. And so I think that's why it's so transformative to find those practices that get you into your body. And I think what's dangerous about saying that it's feminine, it then cuts off people who might not resonate with that terminology to even try the work, because I think every human being on this planet could use more body connection. And if we're saying that it's feminine, then I don't think we're fully communicating what the work actually is. And I feel like a lot of people that talk about like being in your feminine, being in your masculine. By the way, I hope I don't sound like I'm making fun of people, but I feel like a lot of people that when they talk about it, like it just sounds like word salad. Like it doesn't make sense what they're saying when they're like, oh, I was too much in my, what is it that they say? Something masculine, toxic masculine. And it's like, what does that even mean? Toxic masculine? Like, I think there are a lot of examples of when you are in the work of something, if you don't fully grasp the depth and the basics of what is actually happening, then you don't have a basic, fully, easily understandable way to communicate it. And yeah, those are just my thoughts. Those are my thoughts, that it's what it really is body connection and consciousness connection. So like mindset work, mindfulness work, being aware of your thoughts versus like being connected in your body, feeling into sensations, breathing into sensations. And you can even do both of them at the same time. Like if you're sitting and feeling into sensations and you're speaking them out loud, you're connecting that body and mind piece because you're putting words to sensations that you feel. Yeah, so those are my rambly, jumbly thoughts about that conversation about feminine and masculine from the last guest episode from last year. I would love to know your thoughts about this. The best way, honestly, to reach me right now, I know it sounds really old school, but the best way to reach me right now is through my website. If you have any insights or any thoughts you want to share about what you think about what I just shared, you can reach me through my website. Unless we're already friends, you can text me. Because I think it's a very important conversation to have. And I think a lot of people out there as well who are using the terminology of feminine and masculine, I don't think they're trying to be non-inclusive, or I don't think they're trying to be harmful. And yet that terminology is not always helpful, in my opinion. Yeah, so now we will just transition right on into a little trailer with just a couple of clips from my guest episodes so that you can get a little bit of a feel for what is coming. And then I will see you next week for an actual full solo episode. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to lean more into solo episodes this time around. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this trailer. Thank you for being here.
Be it you've always felt pretty good about your relationship, but now you're moving in together or getting engaged and you're like, right?
Yeah.
Like I always say, it's like the good news and the bad news, that ignoring our feelings actually doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a bad news, like, oh, it didn't work all these years. It's still here. And it's also good news, like you cannot really disconnect from yourself.
It could be something completely unrelated to your relationship. It could be, for some people, it's becoming a parent. Having a kid can exacerbate it. For some people, it's like they graduated college, or they're changing schools, or they're moving, or their career has some uncertainty going on. It could be the loss of a loved one. Anything, any kind of life transition. Again, these could even be micro transitions, right?
Imagine, just the population of 20-somethings who only know what their own vulva looks like.
Yeah.
And, I've met women that didn't have a clue how their body even worked down there, and they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
That was something I realized was like, oh, like if someone actually cares about getting to know me, then like they're probably worth my time and me worth sharing this piece about me. Mm-hmm. And also just like working on learning to like love myself again. And I say love myself again because, you know, we're not born hating ourselves. We're not born hating ourselves. That's something that we're taught.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that
especially women, I feel like we're taught that more.
So I don't even really love the word surrender, because I think we use that word a lot as almost like we don't have control. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of people are like, surrender to the universe, give it over to the universe. I'm like, no, you are mother effing creating it with the universe. Like you are like one with the divine in that sense. And so for the longest time, everyone would always tell me, just surrender, just surrender, right?
So I see that a lot of women feel really like it's really vulnerable to express their pain and to cry and express painful emotions, but it's vulnerable at the same level to express our pleasure and joy and gratitude and open heart.
For me, I think the biggest lesson was it's not about surrendering or just like, it is what it is, I'm giving it in, like I'm just going to go with the flow. Like it's not that apathetic attitude. It's much more of, I love the word you said, curiosity, right? Of like, okay, let's try this.
So I think that the mirror, like to really look at her and really see her. Yeah. And there is a really nice thing that when we look at our pussy and just like naming what we see, and then we kind of like removing the judgment part, when we just like, okay, I see a little pinky color.
Yeah. Oh, and then for those of you who are watching, I'm not naked. It would be okay if I were, but I'm just letting you know that I'm not.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Openly Spoken. I know that there's an abundance of content online, so I really appreciate you giving me your ears today. If this episode shifted something for you, please share this with a friend or write us a podcast review if you're listening to this on iTunes so that more people can find this. If anything shifted for you from this episode that you want to have a conversation about, I would love to hear from you. Just send me a DM over on Instagram at selfexpressbabe, and that is in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.